Prachi, can you hear me?
Yes, I just started the live. Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the incredible minds joining us from across the globe. It is an absolute honor and a joy to welcome each one of you to the International Youth Conference 13. Today is not just the beginning of an event, it is the beginning of conversations that matters, ideas that challenges, and connections that have the power to shape our shared future. Look around, well, virtually, and think about this for a moment. We are gathered here from different countries, cultures, and experiences, yet we are united by one powerful force, the belief that young people are not just the participants in change, but drives of it. Each one of you carries a story, a perspective, a question, a solution waiting to be heard. And this conference is your platform. Over the, ne- uh, Over the next few days, we will explore pressing global challenges, exchange ideas on peace, sustainability, leadership, and innovation. And most importantly, we will learn from one another. Because sometimes the most powerful learning doesn't come from textbooks or presentations, it comes from listening, sharing, and understanding. But let me say this clearly, this space is not about perfection, it is about participation. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need the courage to ask the right questions. As we begin International Youth Conference 13, I invite you to show up finally, speak boldly, listen deeply, and connect genuinely. Take this opportunity to step out of your comfort zone. Engage in conversations that challenge your thinking. Collaborate with people who see the world differently than you do. Because that is where growth happens. That is where leadership begins. As I'm Prachi Gupta, the director of International Youth Conference, would like to warmly welcome you and officially welcome you to International Youth Conference 13. Thank you for being here, for believing in the power of youth, and for choosing to be a part of something bigger than yourself. As a director of online programming, I can proudly say that we are all set, but the real magic that begins with you. So I'll leave you with a simple thought. What will you take from this conference? And more importantly, what will you give to that? Let's make this not just an event to attend, but an experience to remember. With this opening speech, I would like to formally start our virtual sessions and a virtual conference of International Youth Conference 13. And I'm really hoping that all of you will engage through chat, will share your ideas, will ask a lot of questions from our speakers so that they will be able to inspire you. And the whole IYC International Youth Conference team is here for you, here with you for all 4 days, here to support you, to answer your questions. So feel free to reach out to us through the app and the live feature of the chat. And with that, I would also like to thank my teammates who have been working tirelessly for a very long time to make this conference a success. And as I welcome all of you, we would be happy to start our first virtual session from today. And it would be great to see where you are joining from, how you are feeling to be a part of International Youth Conference. And from here, I would like to request Renuka, one of our very dedicated team members, to come on the stage, and let's start with our very first virtual session of International Youth Conference. Thank you,
Thank you very much,
everyone.
Prachi. Thank you for having me here. Once again, welcome everyone for joining us today in this live session, and welcome to the 13th International Youth Conference taking place from 21st of May to 24th of May 2026 in Los Angeles, virtually also around the world. My name is Renuka, and I'm honored to be your moderator as a part of Impact Online programming team. This year's theme is Innovative Diplomacy. Youth at the forefront reflects the growing reality that young people are no longer simply participants in global conversations. They are becoming architects of solutions, leaders of movements, and active contributors to diplomacy, peace building, innovation, and sustainable development. Hosted by International Organization of Youth IYC 13, brings together students, activists, entrepreneurs, researchers, policymakers, and young professionals from across the globe to engage in meaningful dialogue, collaborative learning, and solution-driven action. At a time when the world faces increasingly complex global challenges, traditional models of diplomacy alone are no longer enough. IYC 13 highlights the importance of youth led multilateralism, where young leaders collaborate across borders, cultures, and disciplines to create more inclusive, innovative, and impactful solutions for the future. Throughout these 4 days, participants will engage in high level discussions, interactive workshops, policy dialogues, leadership sessions, and network opportunities focus on strengthening youth engagement in global governance and international cooperation. While many participants are joining us in person in Los Angeles, we are equally excited to welcome everyone participating virtually from around the world. Your voices, ideas, and perspectives are what make this conference truly global. To everyone joining us live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, thank you for being part of this journey. We encourage you to stay engaged throughout the session by sharing your thoughts, reflections, and questions in the comments. And with that, let us officially begin today's session. Welcoming our speakers on the stage. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. We have today with us our speakers for the session, Bridging Global Gaps Through Digital Innovation and Youth-Led Solutions. Once again, we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, so feel free to engage throughout the session, share your views and reflections in the comments, and interact with our speakers as well. So here on, we move to the session of today, and our session is about bridging global gaps through digital innovation and youth-led solutions. So digital innovation continues to transform the way we learn, communicate, create opportunities, and solve challenges. From education and healthcare to entrepreneurship and climate action, technology has become a powerful tool for change. At the same time, we know that many communities still face barriers in access, inclusion, and opportunity. That is why youth leadership and innovation are so important in shaping a more connected and equitable future. Today's conversation will explore how young people are using technology, creativity, and collaboration to design solutions that create meaningful impact locally and globally. To help us unpack this important conversation today about the topic, we are joined by inspiring panel speakers, young innovators, and change makers from different parts of the world. And I will like to briefly introduce our speakers, and afterward, I will invite them to share more about themselves throughout the discussion. So first we have Caitlin Du from China. Joining us from China, Caitlin Du, an environmental researcher and youth advocate focused on climate justice and environmental policy. We have among us Eric Xavier Maldonado Caballero from El Salvador. I hope I pronounce your name good. So from El Salvador, He is a youth leader and a social innovator working to expand opportunities through education, leadership, and technology, digital tech literacy. So next we have Christian Edward Niyungwu. I hope I pronounced good. Once again, sorry, apologies for the mispronunciation. He is from Nigeria and he's a marketing strategist, a youth development advocate, passionate about empowering youth people through creativity and digital growth. So next we have Pascal Congo from Zambia, and he is a young innovator and entrepreneur passionate about technology, leadership, and youth empowerment. And lastly, we have Abraham Fifi Selby from Ghana. He is joining us today. He is an IT specialist and researcher working in digital transformation, internet governance, and youth capacity building. So once again, thank you all for joining us here today. And before we officially begin the discussion, once again, welcome to our viewers for watching us today. And we should make the session a little bit interactive for our viewers and would like to know how from our viewers. So here we have 1 minute a brain activity just to pick your brains about brainstorming that. So if you take a minute, one digital idea. What is one digital idea that could help solve a global problem? So, for our viewers, please put in the comments your opinions, your perspectives. What is one digital idea that could help solve a global problem? And it could be anything like related to education, healthcare, climate action, peace building, accessibility, mental health, youth engagement, or any issue that you are really passionate about. So, one digital idea that could help solve a global problem. So, please put in the comments your views, your ideas, just to give a trigger point on it may be like AIPs, chatbot, anything you would like to share with us. And while our audience is sharing the comments in the comment section, we're moving on with our speakers who are there today with us. And to begin with, I would like to have from each of you a short, brief introduction, starting with, first of all, Caitlin, and followed by our next speaker. Caitlin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Du. I'm so honored to share my experience regarding youth roles in digital innovation. And my journey from an ordinary high school student to the only high school presenter at 2 scientific conferences, and now speaking here feels like a dream that my 15-year-old self wouldn't have dared to imagine. If I had to share only one key lesson for youth innovation, it would be to have curiosity and courage, to learn and act. In facing global challenges, curiosity gives us a reason to care, and it drives us to use online resources fully. And courage is what pushes youth to practice what we have learned and display it on a bigger stage. In the environmental field, I often feel too young and powerless to make a difference. But we youth make up 60% of the world's population, and every action we take now helps build momentum, because those who step forward today will be the ones shaping the future tomorrow. I often seize online opportunities to apply my creativity, and I always remind myself that the worst response that people can say is no. So I just let the yeses that I get take me to wherever I end up. And facing global challenges, youth must believe in our potential and power. I remember that my mentor once told me that when facing problems, we must keep in mind that even if we inspire one person, that one person would have the potential to further inspire others. And that is enough, so that one person will keep on inspiring and making a chain reaction. So my hope is that more young people will be inspired to act. And after this session, I hope that together we can embrace curiosity and courage, take opportunities, and step onto bigger stages, even if it feels scary, so that we remember that our actions today, no matter how small, can inspire others. And together we can explore boldly and shape a future where our ideas, passion, and courage can really make a difference. Thank you.
You are muted. We can't hear you. Check.
Thank you very much. I will give the floor to Christian right now. Please share a brief introduction about yourself.
All right. Firstly, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Christian Edward Ungur. I'm the founder and creative director of Novalit Marketing. And for me, this conversation is deeply personal because I come from Nigeria, where millions of young people are incredibly talented, innovative, resilient, and creative. Yet many people still struggle with limited access to opportunity, mentorship, visibility, funding, and digital infrastructure. And one thing I've learned is that opportunity can change the direction of a person's entire life, and that is why digital innovation matters so much in this generation. Because digital innovation is no longer just technology alone. It's about access, it's about empowerment, it's about visibility, and ultimately it's about giving people the opportunity to participate in a future they were once excluded from. And today is so good that a young person with a smartphone and an internet connection can learn global skills, build businesses, create solutions, influence communities and collaborate across several borders in ways that were very, very impossible years ago. But at the same time, we also have to understand that technology alone, does not just transform societies, people do. So in all, I just want to say the real transformation happens, when people use these tools properly, intentionally, to actually now solve real human problems. And I'm very pleased for you having me here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christian. I will give the floor to Savi now. If you can share your short introduction, and after that, it will be Abraham. Thank you.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me, first of all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Awesome. Well, hello, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's watching us. My name is Eric Xavier Maldonado Caballero, but you can call me Chavi. I am from El Salvador, the smallest country in Central America. I have the wonderful pleasure of being here. I recently graduated from college, from John Brown University with a double degree in economics and data analytics. However, I am the director and founder of AOS, Acceso a Oportunidades para Superarse, which in English could be translated as Access to Opportunities for Self-Improvement. I started this journey as a young change maker back in 2020 during the pandemic when everything was closed, and we decided to create a platform for young people to gather together and learn something new. In this case, we wanted to pivot specifically to something that instead of being a solution, created an issue. I'm talking about El Salvador's government giving computers to every student in public schools. You might say, yeah, that entirely is a great idea. However, once I heard a professor saying that give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. But if you give him a fishing stick, he will eat his whole life. However, I encountered a situation while working in this project, and is that if you give a man a fishing stick but don't teach him how to use it, probably he will not use it properly and will take longer to learn how to fish eventually. That's what happened with the computers, and that's why we decided to go and teach kids, specifically in rural areas in El Salvador, how to use these tools. And I resonate entirely with what Christian said. Is not only the access to the tools, but know how to use them properly. So I think that innovation is not only the fact of having the tools, but how to use them in order to improve their professional and educational prospects in the long run. So it's a pleasure to be here and share this stage with such wonderful change makers.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Abraham Fifi Selby, and I'm very happy to be here. And since this introduction, I'm going to introduce a little brief about myself and what I do. If you look at my background, it tells you where I'm coming from. I come from a fishing community in the central part of Ghana, where limited access for internet infrastructure. And growing up, it has been a very challenging for people coming there, but we have innovators from many of communities from this global south. I will focus my work on global south and my discussion on global south, especially in Africa. I come from Ghana, and I am an IT specialist by a professional with a master's degree from University College London. I focus my research on digital transformation. I have a bachelor's in science and information technology. I am leading Pan-African Youth Ambassador for Internet Governance, which I have been a lead facilitator. What SPIAC does is that we train youth in multilingualism in internet governance. So we have 5 languages that we train youth on in English, Arabic, French, Portuguese, and Swahili. We believe multilingualism shouldn't be a barrier for change makers and innovators. So in Africa, led with me and my colleagues and our project coordinator, Sorena Sefa, we have trained 2,000 young Africans in internet governance, where most of them come from the 54 African countries that we train them. We have selected over 200 ambassadors where we give them travel opportunities and guidance and mentorship. So people innovating from these regions are able to work related to understand their local content that they can. We have so many innovators in Africa where we realize that most people don't even understand the concept. So we teach them about the infrastructure of internet governance and innovations based on their own languages so that they can understand being innovative. Aside that, on my career, I have led so many other research projects, contribution to the UN e-governance research, and I'm also a researcher. I have other publications which I have researched based on the internet disruptions in Africa and also how we can promote digital inclusion and infrastructure across the world. So this is a brief information about me. I'm very happy to join all of you here with diverse background and experiences. I'm looking forward to have a very conversation, not just talk, but I want an action-oriented thing that we can give to policymakers for our problems to be solved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again. And to our viewers, thank you for watching us. So moving on forward, we will have our discussion round. And while our audience are engaging in the topic that we just shared about digital, sorry, 1 second. Yes, that we shared about digital idea that could help solve a global problem. Yes, that the comments are coming in, but we will move on to our speakers to hear their view, their perspectives, and with that we will start the discussion round. After the discussion, we will have our question answer round. So of course, to our viewers, if you have any questions, please keep it prepared. That will be soon answered during our question answer round. So for now, we're going to have our first question of the day for our topic, bridging global gaps through digital innovation and youth-led solutions. And to begin our discussion, I would like to start with a broad but important question for our speakers. And with that, we want to have all of your views. So starting with Caitlin and followed by the other panelist speakers, we have this question. How can digital innovation help bridge global inequalities in access to education, healthcare, and opportunities? So once again, how can digital innovation help bridge global inequalities in access to education, healthcare, and opportunities?
So thank you. I think that it is a really great question, and it really highlights the importance of digital innovation. So maybe I can start here. And I think that digital innovation, it provides like a lot of opportunities for us, like I just mentioned. And for education, I know that like a lot of places, they don't have like, I saw them mention in the comments that they don't get to study what subjects that they like. And I feel like so since digital innovation, it can provide us with like some online courses and also some learning materials that can truly help us study what we like. Like I know that there are a lot of like online courses out there, and also digital innovation like AI, they can help us learn. But I also think that it is really important for us, like if we don't know exactly like what we want to learn, we need to use AI properly, because then like we need to be ensured that it is AI helping us think instead of AI replacing our thinking process. So I think that that is really important to highlight here. And for healthcare, this isn't really my field, but healthcare, I'll let others take on to that. But basically in my country, like there is AI that can help us, like like if we tell them how we feel, and then like they will like tell us what potential is there, but it's not that developed in my country, so I'm not really familiar. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you
All
very much,
right.
Katie. I would like to give the floor to Christian. Can you please share your perspective shortly? So we will move on next to Savi, and after that, Abraham. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, in my understanding, I'm going to speak as a Nigerian. So, firstly, digital innovation, helps bridge global inequalities. First of all, by removing the barriers that first, limited access to education, healthcare, and so many opportunities. Because today, a young person in a remote community can learn online, access global knowledge, attend virtual classes, and even build digital skills with just a smartphone and an internet connection. You understand? And let me even speak in the aspect of healthcare. In healthcare, there's something that they call telemedicine. You understand? Telemedicine in the sense that, digital health platforms, allow people to receive medical support and information, even in undeserved areas. I have friends here in Nigeria that also have mental health startups that, just meet people in the rural areas, speak to them. What problem are you going through? Are you good? Just trying to give them opportunities to knowing what problems they have, because here in Nigeria not everybody can be able to go to the hospital and come back safely. You understand? And also economically, digital platforms create opportunities for entrepreneurship, remote work, collaboration, and global visibility. So in my own understanding, I believe digital innovation becomes powerful when it's used not just to connect people, or not just to connect people socially, but to also empower people economically, educationally, and socially. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christian. Moving on to Savi, can you please share your view on the question?
Sure thing. In the case, I'm gonna go through one specific that I want to highlight, and it's the case of access to healthcare. In El Salvador, for example, they created one project that it's. I mean, I was a little bit skeptical about it, honestly, and it's called Dr. SB, which is virtual. It's like if you go to the doctor virtually, you have an appointment, you have your receipt for medication and everything, and they check you. If they see that something is kind of it better, that would be treated better personally, they would tell you. But most of the time it is more of interaction through online platform that allows you to have an interactive session with a doctor. And that, I think that definitely is a very innovative way to do things. But there are some let's say that there are some gaps in between. For example, if there is some severe situation, probably it would mean that, oh, you have to go to the hospital right now. In education, how often do we see platforms other than Google Classroom or Moodle that allow you to learn another English course, computing? Definitely, it is like there is no barrier of geography barrier, for example, in terms of rural communities, but there is a high potential in online platforms for us to learn. And last, opportunities is not the fact that you have or not opportunities. So opportunities are out there, but they are not constantly shared, especially with the pool of all opportunities that are around that we occasionally might miss because of all the information that is currently happening and going on at the same time. So I would say that everything in that sense is not only the access, but how do we target it? How do we target information? How do we target innovation in a good way? So yeah, that would be my take.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Abraham to share his view on our question, and before moving on to the next question.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So I will literally speak on one aspect, but I'm talking about the three aspects when it comes to education, healthcare, and opportunities. With good access, as everyone has said. Access means that access to resources, infrastructure, connectivity. The digital aspect is bridging with this innovating, bridging this kind of healthcare education in sense that when everyone in different geographical locations are able to share information, data, it helps us to innovate because we now understand the needs and cultural dimensions of what everyone is providing. Now, as my other speakers mentioned, there is a development of new online programs online where people can go, someone in China, someone in Nigeria, someone in Kenya can have a shared common access collaborative tool. The power of a digital innovative tool, which allows everybody to connect around the world, it bridges that inequalities. Opportunities. As soon as an opportunity is posted online, especially LinkedIn or any other application, now, if you have the access and connectivity, everybody gets access to that opportunity. There is a gap that an opportunity posted by a reputable organization is not limited, or it's not limited for only people in specific region, unless it is based on some specific policy. But everybody who have that access to that kind of information always gets that kind of opportunity. In healthcare, we're trying to address global health challenges. So even sharing information about some health diseases, nurses doing research, and I'll focus on research because I'm a researcher. Researchers publish their documentaries and their papers online. Everybody can access to their findings and opportunities for people to collaborate with each other. And I think that that technology tools is now helping innovators to learn from different cultural dimensions. Let's use Google, and this will be my last part, that now people are using even translators. If I don't even understand Chinese language, or Swahili or Portuguese or Arabic, there's a tool that have removed that barrier and inequalities, that I can speak my language and there will be a translator somewhere to another user. These are the kind of innovations that is bridging the inequalities among some of these sectors. And we can explore also some of the challenges when we go further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abraham. So we have had our first question, which is how can digital innovation help bridge global inequalities and access to education, healthcare, and opportunities? And we have heard from our speakers today what their views are on this digital innovation question. So moving on to the next, we have obviously it's important that we have marked this question that it really stands out that digital innovation has a power to reduce barriers that once limited access to opportunities in different ways, and whether through online education, telemedicine, digital entrepreneurship, or access to innovation, technology can help communities connect regardless of geography or background. So at the same time, accessibility and affordability remain essential in innovation is truly going to be inclusive. So we are moving on to the next question. What role are youth playing in designing and scaling technology-driven solutions for global challenges? And for this, we will give one speaker the chance to give her opinion. We want to know from our speakers as well, so please put in your comment section what are your views on this. So this question is given to Christian. We would like to know from you, what role are youth playing in designing and scaling technology-driven solutions for global challenges? So this question for Christian. Please, the floor is for yours.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So, firstly, thank you very much for these questions. You know, in the ecosystem of digital innovation right now, you know, youth are playing such a very big role because we know how to actually utilize digital formats, digital platforms. Then using these digital platforms to actually now scale something very big. Now, let me explain what I mean. here in Nigeria, a lot of youth now are able to use digital platforms to actually now scale economic platforms to actually bridge forth proper growth. And the youths, even not just in Nigeria, but in the world today, are able to use this properly, scale this properly, and make sure it breeds forth proper growth. Now, please, can I get the other end of the question? Because I want to break it down while I'm answering these questions very well. Can I get the other end of the question, please? Can you hear me?
1 second. Yes, we can hear you. So,
Okay.
repeating the question, what role are youth playing in designing and scaling technology-driven solutions for global challenges?
Okay. So now, in terms of what role we are also playing in also helping out or removing global challenges, for me, I believe, solving global challenges starts with, creating systems that give people to access and empowerment. And now through my company, like Novalit Marketing and Stratos HQ, I personally am what's it called? I am focused on helping, young people, creators and businesses leverage digital tools for growth, in visibility, education, and economic opportunities. Because I have this belief system that freely I have received and freely I shall give. And right here in Nigeria, we are actually building solutions that simplify branding, content creation, and digital marketing, so that more people, especially in Africa, can actually compete globally, regardless of their background. And beyond business, a lot of youth are actually involved in youth development and community impact initiatives, because I also believe that technology should not only drive profit but also create meaningful social transformation. And ultimately, the roles of youth is to mainly contribute towards building ecosystems while innovation becomes accessible, practical, and empowering for everyday people. Because I remember whilst I was growing, I grew up in a community where access was not given properly. But right now, because of technology, we are able to actually now leverage on these tools for proper growth, not just growth in our lives personally, growth, in the ecosystem, in the creators ecosystem, the business ecosystem, in the educational ecosystems. So mainly, it is just more about, the youths now using these ecosystems to now breed forth proper innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you very much for your view on our question, which was what role are youth play in designing and scaling technology-driven solutions for global challenges? Obviously, to our viewers, please put on your views in the comment box, and we will shortly come back to you with your questions. So we have had this question. So moving on to another question for one of our speakers here today is we have our next question, of course, and that is what barriers limit digital inclusion and how can they be addressed through policy and innovation? So, once again, the question what barriers limit digital inclusion and how can they be addressed through policy and innovation? So, this question we would like to ask Abraham to answer this question for us. And
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. I was waiting for this question because it is one of the most dear questions to my heart. As we say, I am focusing on Global South and Africa. And looking at this question, the barriers of digital, that limit digital inclusion and how can be addressed. In Africa, Christian could know what it's really affecting Africa, and most Global South it's affecting. Access to information, access to infrastructure. Digital transformation today runs on two emerging points: stable energy like power, electricity, and infrastructure like internet and other things. When we come to Africa, the barrier that limits digital inclusion is that people who need to do the actual work are left behind the conversation. Young people are not bring together on tables. We bring the old people, and the mentality of the old people is that we have been doing it this way, so we still have to do it that way. African youth or Global South youth are very innovative and they want to come out with solutions. Here is the case that it is not helping our continent because even from the regional union, African Union, there has not been any initiative that they focus saying that in a year, let us try to push that all communities in Africa should have electricity with the providing government agencies. As I'm speaking with you, my country, Ghana, some people don't have access to electricity. Some people don't have access to stable internet. Some communities usually get electricity in specific days, schedules. Internet, people buy internet they can't use because it is worse on infrastructure. These are limiting barriers to digital inclusion because people are not thinking about how we can innovate things because of the old mentalities. Youth are trying to come up with infrastructure resources that can build communities, but there is still barriers. How do we get here? What can be addressed through policy and innovation is that policy and innovation should not be just a talk by the government agencies, by the stakeholder who sit and make that policies. It should drive with actionable results. Let's say that, okay, there is a policy, we are rolling out internet infrastructure for communities. In 5 days, we're supposed to finish this community, move to next community. These are actionable items. Regional leaders meet at African unions, they talk and talk and talk for over years, nothing has happened. How can we bridge that? You see most African youths struggling in Africa, but they travel to the Western world with resources and opportunity, and they contribute and make good impact in the Western world. What is happening in Africa is that we limit innovators, we limit youth potentials, and we kill dreams by many organizations, by the government. What can be addressed, and my position here is that if we have to bring innovators in Africa, we must lead as an result-oriented people. We must also move away from classroom theory-based solutions to a practical-based solution, which can help innovators to build something from the skills that they are giving out. And this is my position that African youth are not lazy, they are innovators. We need to have a critical policy thinkers, not just people who just go sit down and talk, but people who can provide actionable, measurable result solutions to make sure that there is a change in our ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Very much, everyone. So, Abraham, thank you very much for your great explanation. And of course, we are nearing our end time of the session almost, but we will move on quickly. Of course, it is very interactive, and we would like to do deep into like more insightful, but unfortunately, we don't have that much time, of course. Once again, to our viewers, thank you for watching us, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, your comments, your views. And of course, you all are watching us today from different parts of the world for another exciting session of IYC 13 edition today. And once again, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you are watching us from today. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and feel free to engage throughout the session. So we will be having a short Q&A session at the end. So please keep your questions ready. For now, we will be moving on to our next question for our next speaker before moving on to our wrap-up round. So for here we have our question for our next speaker, and that will be Caitlin. The question here for you is, how can ethical considerations be integrated in youth-led digital solutions? So once again, how can ethical considerations be integrated in your youth-led digital sessions? So, Caitlin, you have the floor, and of course, we will, as the time is ticking, so we will need to be sure that we go shortly on it, because we also have our last speaker who needs to have our question answered, which is there for him. So, of course, Caitlin, please, the floor is yours quickly, and before moving on.
Oh, I think that this is a really great question, and also one of my concerns. I feel like what really makes, since the digital era is here, what really makes human distinguish from robots is that we have ethical concerns. So I feel like it's really important for that. And moving on, like on the internet, like we see like a lot of information out there, and there are so like it's kind of like an information boom. Like you have to access so much information, and you have to like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like you have so much things that you see and you have to like access them through your mind, and it really takes a lot of effort to do that. And sometimes like your mind just get really really like bloomed out. So I feel like ethical concerns is really important, and it really gives us a chance to like stay like have our own critical thinking skills in like a really like a time that we have so much information out there. So, and I feel like one of the great ways to have our own ethical ethics out there is to read a lot. And I think that reading, it helps us establish our own understanding, and also reading, it gives us a chance to like access things slowly. Like we have the process of reading the full information instead of just seeing like really short information that comes from like various topics out there. So that is one of the ways. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. And of course, we have our questions answered. One, how ethical consideration be integrated into youth-led digital solutions. So we have, of course, innovation becomes stronger by day when it's guided by responsibility and inclusion. And finally, yes, major transformations don't happen alone, of course. And moving on to the next question before we are wrapping up the round, we have for Sawi here the following question, and that is, how can partnerships between governments, private sector, and youth accelerate digital transformation for development? So once again, here the question for you is, how can partnerships between governments, private sectors, and youth accelerate digital transformation for development?
Sure, thank you for the question. This is really important and really deep rooted into my work, because I think that in order to create the kind of digital transformation that we want, there has to be an ecosystem that includes not only government, private sector, and individuals. But it's not in the matter of, oh, we have to do a cycle. No, it's it's more than that, more than just a cycle. Is the creation of something that doesn't create like bureaucratic stops, but how much time does it take, for example, to create an NGO in different countries? If you have the accessibility, not only by the framework, and not only by the framework, but the opportunities given by the private sector is essential for you to have. So my take is that there should be a certain amount of support from each side. So in the case of the government, is establishing the regulatory framework that we need as individuals to implement the projects we want and have access to. Let's say, for in my case, we give classes like English classes and computing classes in the infrastructure of public schools. So they give me the access for us to give classes in there with no much trouble. The private sector is more of a, let's say, private sector is more of a supporting economic terms, competitions. And how many competitions do we see nowadays in which, like, oh, if you have an innovative idea, we are going to support it, and if you have this project, we're going to invest in it. So that's part of it. And last but not least is the vital, like the networks we have and the grassroots initiatives that we want to create. They should be straightforward, they should be strong, and they should be rooted in a problem that we want to solve. It is true that, yeah, we have lived through different experiences, but experiences do not say much. But experiences plus ideas plus initiative plus the spirit and the passion for you to solve a problem is more than enough to show those two other entities, the private sector and the public sector, to that you want to change something in your community, and then eventually the world. So yeah, thanks for that question.
Thank you very much, Savi. Thank you very much for all our speakers today. Thank you for sharing your view on our questions and keeping our viewers engaged as well. So I see some very powerful, some very great comments that the session has been very outstanding. Yes, you can see it on the screen as well. So wrapping up a little bit is about, yes, it's about governments help create policies and systems. The private sectors contribute investments, technology, and scalability, and youth bring creativity, innovation, and grassroots perspectives. So obviously, when these sectors genuinely collaborate, solutions become more powerful, sustainable, and inclusive. So I would say a short wrap-up line would be real progress happen when innovation is supported by collaboration. So I guess you will be all agreeing with me on this one. Um, okay, so moving on, we'll be picking one question from our comment section. So here is the question. How do we reach millions of young people from the poorest parts of the world, ensuring they are not left behind in the digital era? So as time is short, we will give shortly two speakers who are interested to answer this question very shortly, briefly, and so that we can wrap up the session
Sure.
for today.
Okay.
Yes. So please go ahead,
Okay.
Christian, I
Okay,
guess.
sure. Okay,
Oh.
let me address this then, maybe after that another speaker. So the digital access barrier, as I said earlier, also depends on the cost. If digital tools are affordable in our regions, in among the poor areas, people will be able to afford. Now, even in Africa, people are willing to spend money, but they don't get the right infrastructure because of poor services. If, let's say, we help fund innovators from these areas to manufacture some of these devices in our local communities, the cost of such devices will be reduced and everybody can get access to it. We must prioritize some kind of policy that we are using specific part of duration to make sure that there is inclusion and access to everything. We must also try to reduce taxes. This is from the government side. They must reduce taxes from certain importations, digital assets, so that people can be able to buy and use this thing. Private investors and also organizations who have money as part of their corporate social responsibilities, they must also try to focus on helping bridging this digital gap than sometimes focusing on other parts of sectors which more attention is there. We must also focus in helping bridging the digital gap. Also, government regulations collaborating with private sector, as I agree, works very perfectly. But we, the individuals, must also be able to put some kind of responsibility in our own hands that we will be responsible to use infrastructures and resources very well, so that we all have a role to play, not only government. This is what I'm going to say. So thank you very much. It is a role that all parties have to be involved, but cost affordability must be a top priority for all government agencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abraham. So as we are really short in time, so we would like to wrap up. And of course, to our viewers, thank you for watching us today, and keep following us on YouTube, because this is just the first session. Many more sessions are coming in, and please also to make sure that you mark your attendance on the web portal if registered. And once again, thank you for our speakers. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your efforts towards the global change making activity, and of course, thank you once again. So wrapping up shortly, as we conclude today's session on bridging global gaps through digital innovation and youth-led solutions, I would like to sincerely thank all of you, our speakers, our viewers today, for sharing the insights and experiences and perspective with us today here on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course, yes, a warm welcome from all of viewers over the world. Your engagement, commitment, and participation truly makes this conversation more meaningful and impactful. And once again, this today discussion reminds us that technology alone does not create change, people do. And young people across the world are proving that innovation can become a powerful tool for inclusion, collaboration, and sustainable progress. Once again, my name is Renuka, and thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you very much for having our speakers today here. And to our viewers, please continue engaging with the International Youth Conference throughout the rest of IYC 13th edition, and we hope you enjoy the upcoming sessions. Once again, thank you everyone. Take care and have a great day.